JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon is beset by billions of dollars in bad loans, unwelcome rules, a weak international presence, and a closed door in Washington. Bloomberg News finance reporter Dawn Kopecki is with me now. She writes about Dimon's troubled world in the latest issue of Bloomberg Markets magazine. Dawn, thanks so much for coming in. Let's talk about the sore spots in Jamie Dimon's portfolio, and then we'll get to the fact that this was the guy we thought walked on water, or the but let's tackle the sore spots first.
Yeah, the sore spots right now really is his mortgage portfolio. A lot of people don't realize this, but 80% of JPMorgan's mortgage portfolio is either credit impaired from the Washington Mutual acquisition, it's subprime, or option arms. It's kind of, these are not very good assets according to analysts. So that's a big sore spot. Credit cards is doing weak. He's doing this big push to go international, but he really doesn't have a very big presence internationally.
But we did see with the last quarterly results that credit quality seemed to be getting better. They seem to be putting aside less money in anticipation of people not paying their credit card bills.
That's true, and that's all a macroeconomic trend right now. But
so
really,
they're not really executing better than anybody else. They're just benefiting from trends that are improving.
Yes, and they had been conservative in their reserving before, but also another thing going on there is that their credit quality right now is flat. It's not actually improving, it's flat. So as long as things remain stable, they think they can release reserves, and that's why their profits were up, but their revenues were down last quarter.
This is quite a change in public persona, public image for Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, he was called Good King Jamie. Barron's wrote a story saying, all hail Jamie Dimon. I mean, everyone thought he walked on water, that he could do no wrong. And so now what you're seeing is, as time goes on, you're seeing him as a man that he makes mistakes. He's not a perfect CEO. He's probably one of the best CEOs out there in banking, but banking is not a very good business right now.
When you reach out to people and talk to them about Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan Chase, do they say, okay, he wanted WaMu and he got it, this is a case of be careful what you wish for?
Yeah. I mean, Washington Mutual gave him a lot of what he wanted and a lot of what he didn't want. These credit card loans, these mortgages are going to drag on earnings for years to come, not quarters to come, years to come. There's a lot of litigation exposure with Washington Mutual. Now you're seeing them being sued by all sorts of people over these loans, and then you've got the loan buybacks.
So what challenges does Jamie Dimon face, both now in a balance sheet sense and then also in an image sense, a branding sense?
Well, they think that Jamie, actually, they like that he's being portrayed more as a real man, but as JPMorgan does. But you know, they're facing revenue pressures, profit pressures. The U.S. economy is not very strong. It's not going to be strong for years to come, so they're pushing out internationally. It's going to be a very difficult environment for all banks.
Now, Dawn, getting sort of to the nuts and bolts, I know we talked a lot about Goldman Sachs and the hit that it took as a result of its subprime exposure. We put a price tag on it here, $500 million. Is JPMorgan Chase going to be better or worse?
So we're talking about the fine that they paid for the SEC, and now JPMorgan is caught up in the same thing with this hedge fund. It looks like they are being investigated by the SEC. They could face fines and penalties. No one thinks that the fine will be as large for JPMorgan, mostly because JPMorgan lost money on this deal. They lost close to $1 billion, whereas Goldman Sachs made money.
So the same notions of conflict of interest don't exist to the same extent.
Well, maybe not as strong. They're still there, but maybe not as strong for JPMorgan.
Dawn, thanks so much for coming in. Great reporting. Bloomberg's Dawn Kopecki, and you can read the whole article, Jamie Dimon's Struggle, in the latest issue of Bloomberg Markets magazine.